I am back with a video on safety, not just the helmet, but basically safety as you are riding. And this video has been long in the planning. A lot of people have asked questions about helmets and safety, so I'm finally putting the data out. And here is some actual information. As you can see, an awful lot of people die every year of injuries. About 250,000 of them, which is quite a number, even in a country as big as the US. And the people who die on the road is a little over 50,000 people. That includes everything: cars, motorcycles, bicycles, stand-up scooter, electric mobility, whatever it is. But here's the interesting part. When you look at it, most people die at home. More than half of the people die at home. And a lot of it is all kinds of accidents, people trying to do things of their own, remodeling, moving things, setting things on fire, things exploding, safety issues, and also domestic violence, and the reality of crime, break-ins, robbery, and things like that. But just based on that, if you accept the common propaganda that all you need is to put on a bike helmet and you're going to be safe, that's not being backed up by the data. The people who should be wearing a helmet, for the most part, are the people at home. So let's look at a few scenes from Premium Rush. Premium Rush is a pretty good movie. Some of the research is very bad, some of it is actually quite accurate. And I want to show you a few fairly realistic accident scenes. Getting car doors, very common accident, especially in urban areas. You might salto over like you see here, although this is not very common. And the idea is that if you have a helmet on, which is not even really a helmet, this is only a hard hat, that's going to protect you. The fact is you can break your neck. You have very great chance of spinal injuries. And the first thing that is always going to happen is holding your hands out and risking an injury to the wrist, to the forearm, the elbows, and the hand itself. The helmet this guy and every character in the movie wears is not really a helmet, it's only a hard hat. This was a design really designed for people who work on construction sites. It's to protect your head from falling objects, which happens a lot if you build buildings. I'm putting a link below just in case you want to check out the actual movie. But look at these scenarios. So my argument is this hard hat is not going to do much. Most of the collisions are not affecting the top of your head. It is very rare that you would be saltoing over onto the top of your head, and even if you did, you can still break your neck. A spinal injury can send you to the hospital and into a chair for the rest of your life. What happens most of the time is injuries to the knees, to the hands, forearm, elbows, feet, ankle. These are very common. They happen all the time. Almost every accident is going to involve either your hand or forearm or your knees or your legs or your ankles. As far as head injuries are concerned, the most devastating head injuries are to the face. And obviously if you get run over by a car or a heavy vehicle like this, that I really don't think a hard hat is going to make much of a difference, to be honest. And this can happen even if you're not riding anything. A number of studies have even shown that when a car driver sees somebody riding a micro-mobility device, whatever that is, and the person seems to be wearing something protective on his head, the car is willing to take greater chances, because the propaganda about bike helmets has been accelerated so much that everybody, even people who don't ride, are convinced that if you wear any piece of plastic on top of your head, that's going to keep you safe. So they take greater chances. And the first thing you achieve by putting on a helmet, especially a hard hat like this, which is not even really protective, is that you increase the likelihood that you are going to be in an accident. In most cases, it's not going to defend you, it's not going to protect your head, and the part of the head that's being protected is not the part that is in most danger. The most dangerous, most sensitive area of the head is your face, especially your eyes. You have a thick piece of bone protecting the top of your head. Yes, the shock, if you hit something with your skull, is dangerous, but your brain is pretty well protected. The same cannot be said about your eyes, which are extremely important. You cannot ride without your eyes. One question that comes to mind in this footage is what's really most important? What you are wearing or the situation? What if these people were not riding as violently as they are? Then probably all of this equipment, the hard hat, whatever, gloves or elbow protection, whatever they might have, is probably not going to be as important and it's not going to be as necessary. Once again, here's another fairly common collision, running into an obstacle. It could be a car, it could be a car door, it could be a hot dog stand, a barrier, a plant, or even a person, a dog jumping out. It could be anything. And you're not going to land on top of your head. Your hard hat is not going to do anything to protect you. What is protective here is if you have hand gloves and securely attached footwear, something that's not going to fly off of your foot. Those things will make a difference. If you could wear elbow or knee protection, that would be great, but it's a kind of bulky and not very convenient to do on a bicycle. That kind of a protective equipment is typically worn by people who ride the Monowheel and some electric skateboarders and people like that. Notice that with the people who ride the highly risky devices, electric micro mobility with only one wheel, yes, he can freeze the wheel, but if he does, he's going to fly off and he's going to fall right on his head. So here you can see knee protection, elbow, serious wrist protection, serious gloves, and a full face helmet. This is the kind of things, and of course shoes securely attached, but these are the kind of things that you would really need to wear if you wanted to be safe. Now if you're on a bicycle, you're not nearly as much in danger as you would be riding a monowheel, so what you need to wear is not as intense as this, but the current trend of just putting on a hard hat that does absolutely nothing, it's just not going to work. So the question is, what should you do, what works, what you should be wearing? First of all, if you have one of these hard hats, you might as well get rid of them because they are not going to do anything. Notice that a construction hard hat costs a quarter as much. So the companies have made plenty of money brainwashing people into believing that getting the same thing as a construction worker's hard hat is going to make that much of a difference. And you have some stylish options and so on. But it's basically irrelevant. The first thing you have to do to stay safe, well, first of all, I do not recommend a monowheel. I think they are a really unsafe and bad idea. But if you have a bicycle, a kick scooter, something like that, the first thing you have to do is not related to what you wear. The first thing is to plan the ride and to ride safely. And the first thing is to look on the map, turn on the bike maps. Any area is going to show you pretty accurately where it is relatively safe to ride and not safe to ride. So there are these bicycle friendly roads or even greenways in so many areas, so you can go around practically the entire road. And it doesn't even have to be New York. This exists around every urban area where you might want to go. And you can also use the camera. You can step into the scene and check out a road to see how bad it is. Does it have a shoulder? Like this one, probably on a Sunday or Saturday weekend, you can get by on this shoulder. On the weekdays, not so much. So this is the first step, and also manage your speed. There are very, very few serious accidents under 15 miles an hour. Even if you do fall off, it's just typically going to be a bruise or a pulled tendon or muscle. You typically would not have to go to the hospital. It's above 20 miles an hour that the situation begins to get serious. And some states actually require bicycles to wear a helmet if they are going faster than 20. The area between 15 and 20 is kind of a gray area. If you fall off, you can have a more serious accident, but it's definitely worse than if you fall off at 10 miles an hour, and there's a greater chance of getting into something serious, but it's still a relatively safe zone. So you really have to worry about at and above 20 miles an hour. So if you keep this in mind, if your equipment is correctly maintained, your tires have traction and so on, and you plan your ride and you moderate your speed, that's already winning the game halfway. But obviously it's not the full story. You still have to have some wearables on in order to feel safe. So what do I wear? The first and by far most important piece of equipment you need to have is some sort of an eye protection. Just think about this. You follow those people in the video that they didn't even have glasses or a mask or anything to protect their eyesight. Your eyes are about the most vulnerable piece on your entire body. If you're taking a downhill at 20 miles an hour and an insect flies straight into your eyeballs, flying at 30 miles an hour, that's a 50 mile per hour impact directly on your eyes. You can suffer permanent eye injury by doing this. Now in this case, I'm showing you, I wear an Oakley titanium with prescription lenses that change hue and have enhanced saturation and everything. If you don't want to spend $600 on this, you can just have the Oakley without the prescription lenses and fancy coating for maybe $150 or $200. But the thing is, even a $10 pair of cheap plastic is going to protect your eyes in a way so significant. So you definitely have something for your eyes. If you can afford the titanium and fancy design, then by all means do it. My Oakley frame is actually 21 years old and it is still going strong. I did have to replace the lenses once, and the rubber padding has been replaced once or twice as well. Another thing I absolutely insist upon is gloves. This is the second thing that you want to wear, and especially professionally made bike gloves. I'm not happy about the cheap leather and the plastic petroleum fabrics. So the materials they use to make these gloves that really has to be fixed. But the padding, it makes all the difference. In almost all accidents, you are going to instinctively hold your hands out. If you have padding here, that can spell the difference between a deep cut into your palm that lands you at the hospital for a $5,000 surgery or whatever, as opposed to just getting a bruise or a scratch or something, and that's all there is to it. So there are also more sophisticated gloves that offer wrist protection, and those are great if you are on the Monowheel, but they don't allow your hand to move freely, so you can't really use those on a bicycle, and so I don't recommend them. And finally, your shoes. I see more and more people running around on shoes that have latches or some kind of an expandable artificial straps. Make sure you have the traditional shoelaces so that you can actually precisely tighten the shoes on your feet. Never ride in any kind of slippers, anything that can slip off of your feet. Not even latches, nothing that exposes your toes, such as Tevas or Birkenstock or something like that. I actually used to have sneakers that just had the latch across like this, and they were ripped. One of them got ripped off of my foot as I almost fell on my face around the corner. So those are just not secure. This is just like with the Brompton. It's kind of old school to close a hinge like this, to rotate things around, but this is so much more secure than a spring-loaded latch. You don't want to have any kind of automatic spring-loaded, expandable, spandex, whatever. You want the traditional shoelaces and a fully enclosed shoe with a good deal of bottom. You don't have to have, especially if you're not a professional racer, I don't think you have to have professional bike shoes. You can have those if you want to, if you are into racing and speed tests and so on. But for most people, commuters especially, just sneakers or some half formal, half sneaker shoes with a solid bottom and good shoelaces will do the job. Now, helmets, I only wear helmets. This is the one I wear. In fact, it's almost exactly the one I have. This is the Hero helmet, and I've had it for years, but I only wear it when the temperature falls below around 53, or if I intend to race or go faster than 20 an hour. Other than that, anything you put on your head is going to limit your ability to observe the environment to some extent. So you should only wear a helmet for a reason, and if you wear one, make that a full face or at least a half face helmet. This is a full face helmet. This is going to provide maximum massive protection. You have to have a full goggle in here. It does not come with a goggle. Some of them have a windscreen or something, but most of them don't. So you have to have a goggle. Goggles are excellent. They are much better than sunglasses, but wearing them without a helmet makes you kind of look like a bug. I used to try that, but it's not such a great idea. So yeah, if you want to go full face, yeah, definitely go full face. If somebody opens the car door in your face, look at the crumple zones you have here and up here. You have a lot of protection. And if there's a sharp object trying to protrude into your eyes, then you have the goggle. So definitely have something protecting your eyes as well. If you want like the maximum protection, that's the full face helmet. Some of them have a windshield or visor. Some of them require that you put on this goggle. The goggle doesn't really work if you have prescription glasses, but there are prescription inserts that you can order separately. It's quite pricey, but it can be done. And I would say if it's in a fully enclosed helmet that you're going to wear, I recommend to make it with an electric defogger. I know it sounds fancy and this is yet another battery you have to charge, but this thing is going to fog. In fact, even the one I have, even the Hero helmet I have, even this one tends to fog. I mean, it's fully open down here, but even at like 45 degrees, it starts fogging. So it takes a while, and I have to move. If I move on the bike, then I have some air circulation, and the fog sort of goes away, but it is annoying. So the foggers are highly recommended if you do go for a full face helmet and you ride in the winter, even in the fall, even could be 52, 53 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know how much that is in Celsius, but it doesn't have to be all that cold, and it's going to fog. So this is my recommendation. I would say toss the hard hat. Hard hats are not going to solve your problems. Wear proper footwear, eyewear, gloves, and above all, plan your ride and ride defensively. This is far more important than just putting on a hard hat and imagining that that's going to provide some kind of a magical, supernatural protection. Okay, this is it for the current video, but
I'll be back.